Yeah, so to your point about Huawei, I think their sales in Q1 were up nearly 70% year over year. So Apple in the last quarter, their sales in China were down 20%. So here we are, we have this data for the last 2 months or so, up 52%, up 40%. And again, that's 20% of Apple's total sales. So to me, Apple doesn't do heavy discounting anywhere else in the world, so they're obviously very focused on this Chinese market and retaking some share versus Huawei. But I want to think about Apple intelligence. I want to think out, let's call it 2 quarters, 3 quarters, that sort of thing, where people are very excited about Apple right here, because of the opportunity for an upgrade cycle here in the U.S. But I don't think the reasons that people might upgrade here in the U.S. are what Chinese users are going to upgrade for. I don't think Apple intelligence is going to be something that makes it past the Chinese, firewall that they have there. So to me, if you're going to heavy discount to try to get back share, that's obviously going to weigh on margins a little bit. So I just don't think it's that interesting. The last thing I'll say is that the stock has had this huge move, right? It's up 32% or so from the lows in April. It's still only up 13% on the year. So it's lagging the NASDAQ, which is up about 17.5%, and the S&P 500, which is up, 14.5%. So to me, I think the stock is probably fully valued here.
I think to your point, 2 to 3 quarters in terms of the AI story playing out here in the United States, at least, or other markets out of China. I think that's almost optimistic. I mean, I think that the most bang for your buck you'll see is when there is a bigger adoption of this latest phone, a bigger adoption of AI. And it's not clear right now how deep that adoption could actually be if you're only going to get it with the highest end phone in this first upgrade cycle.
But it's Apple, and we understand that there's 2.2 billion devices out there, and either way, there's 250 a year that are going to have to refresh. And if you think about this move in Apple stock, Dan's pointing out it's been a huge move. It's outperformed the S&P. We know we're at all-time highs in markets. It's outperformed the S&P by 20% since April 10th. But even since it's had this move, and if you look at that kind of flagpole breakout chart, Tech Geeks and whatnot, I mean, it's actually really impressive what, to me, it's done in the last 10 days. Since that move, it's outperformed the S&P by 4%. So go back to China. I don't think, I think we've priced in that China's a difficult place. This move in Apple is all about, I think, this refresh cycle. And I give the UBS analysts credit because they bring up some really important points. I mean, Apple's share loss in China is shocking. It's 550 basis points year over year. It's a market where the growth is about 11% a year, and they're growing 90 basis points. So, yeah, off of a low bar, it was up 50% in April, up 40% in May. These are really big, impressive numbers, but the fact is they're losing market share to Huawei. In fact, they're now behind Huawei, which is 15.6 versus Apple's 15.3. But if you own Apple here, you know China's a problem. I think it will continue to be a problem. But as someone that's actually added to Apple shares, a few different times over the last 45 days or so, I actually think that Apple does look interesting. And I do think this refresh is interesting. What UBS is doing on multiple is maybe the most important thing for the stock. They're putting a 27 multiple on it, which they say is the 5-year historical kind of premium to the market. And I respect that. I respect that because I don't think Apple necessarily deserves a huge premium here, and that's what it's had.
Yeah. Do you think it deserves even that, Karen?
Well, I think you got to back out that it's a hardware company, primarily in revenues, right? So whatever the number is, 70%, let's say, a little more, in the hardware business. And what are hardware multiples? Significantly less than that. So when you back that out, then you are looking at something much higher than 27 for the rest of the business, much higher. So the other thing is I'm not quite sure that we've seen how is it going to monetize AI, right? I'm not clear on that, which is sort of the bigger story, at large on AI.
For everybody.
But, what?
For everybody other than
NVIDIA. Well, we know on NVIDIA's going to monetize it by selling.
Well, Microsoft is selling, right?
Selling Copilot. That's a monetization.
A subscription, so that's But this is, I agree, it's not charging per se for Apple AI.
Right. Now they would say, all right, well, we're going to have so many AI-enabled apps that, that our service revenue is going to go way up. That may be. Maybe it's just, I have not been an Apple bull for, I don't know how many points, 10 bunches of tens of points. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of this is getting priced in.
Yeah. Julie, how do you feel about the valuation at this point?
I agree that the valuation is challenging, right? But I mean, as a long-term holder, I think I've owned Apple personally for 11 years. And to me, the opportunity in AI actually is really clear. It's exactly what happened with Google and search, right? Google pays Apple in order to have search as the default feature. And I'm pretty sure that OpenAI will be doing a similar situation. I'm pretty sure it's actually going to go to whoever the highest bidder is. And that is because they want to be able to monetize the absolute best user base of any iPhone, right? The higher end user base. So I think that their positioning and their ecosystem is what is going to actually enable them to generate a lot of revenue from that user base. And I think that it is pretty unique because it's a near-term revenue that I think we have better clarity on, and it's very high margin.
Can I ask you a question, Julie? I had thought OpenAI was not paying.
They're not
Apple.
paying right now, but I would have a good feeling that, like, the way that I look at it is the competitive dynamic is such that Google has 90% plus market share of search, and they still feel the need to pay to be on Apple's platform. So I think that it will probably make sense for any of the OpenAI and competitors to be paying to be in front of that user base. It's a really compelling user base.
I understand that, Julie. I mean, that line of thinking, but does anybody say X points of Apple's multiple is the revenue that Google is paying to Apple? Or is that part of anybody's bull case when investing in Apple? Because I feel like it's not. And so if that's not going to be, then why would a revenue stream from AI, an AI provider, paying Apple, why would that be part of the bull case?
I mean, I think we've talked a lot about services as being a pretty important part of the Apple story in terms of being able to support this kind of a multiple, right? And so the revenue that, Google pays them is within that services bucket. So I think everything that's not hardware should, by virtue of the size and the scale of the business, be higher margin than the hardware. And it tends to be recurring in nature. And both of those things mean that investors are going to be willing to pay a premium for that.